say, don't be a girly man. I say, don't be a girly man.
Hello, this is Pastor Jay with your encouraging word for today. This week I'm going to change up a little bit because I got a great response about my girly man. Let us reason together. So we're going to continue in that vein, and I'm going to interview different men this week to get their take on manhood, godly manhood, and the man of today. And we're going to really look at the story of Barak. The one thing I want you to do, and it's in Judges chapter 4, the one thing I want you to notice is that Deborah had to summon Barak because Barak was not going to go forward with what God had told him to do. Even though the nation of Israel was in bondage by Jabin for 20 years, he felt the pain also. But there was something in him that turned his yes into a maybe and his maybe into a no, to the point that God had to intervene and come speak to Deborah, a judge and a prophetess, to remind him of what his assignment was, what his responsibility was, and what his purpose was in that moment. The people are in distress, and God has chosen you to be the one who would deliver them out of the oppressor's hand. And yet, you take a back seat, you ignore, you run away. We have many stories in the Bible to where God has chosen a man to do something. And at first, he's very apprehensive, but somehow or another, he gets it done. The story of Jonah is about a man that ran away from his responsibility as a prophet. His reasoning was the ones he was going to save didn't deserve it. But what's Barak's reason? I can understand if God told me to go talk to my oppressor and try to save them. But there's a whole nother thing where you are the savior of your family, your church, your job, your sphere of influence. God has chosen you to want to step out into the danger zone, the zone of unknown challenges and troubles and trials, and you have agreed to it. And God didn't leave you out there like Abraham and just told him to go and I'll tell you when you get there. He told Barak, catch this, how many men to take, where to get them from, and where he was going to deliver them, the enemy, into his hands. There was no guesswork in this. So my question is, why did Barak need to be called by Deborah to move forward? Why? Deborah is not only a civil leader, but she's also a prophetess. And oftentimes a prophetess repeats and reminds and enhances what God has said to men and women of God. But in this particular case, it's emphatically towards Barak. And our question is, do you not remember, or didn't God tell you that you're supposed to go fight Sisera and relieve the people of oppression? Didn't God tell you how, when, and who to take and what to do? And his answer was yes. And she said, didn't God tell you to, famous word for men, go? Go. How many times can you imagine God has told many men to go? He told Abraham to go. He told Moses to go. He told Isaac to go. He told Jacob to go. He told Joshua to go. Jesus told his disciples to go. Men are supposed to go. And when they don't go and they're standing still, they're not being men that God has called them to and their purpose. He even told Adam to go. Now, we're in a situation where God has given instruction to a man, and the man has now decided that he will not go. but he is summoned by the judge and by the prophetess, and she brings back to his remembrance, even if he forgot, what his assignment is, what his purpose is, what his mission is. Mighty woman of God, telling the man who was assigned what his mission is. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Because the Bible has a particular role for women that is most awesome that I think women don't appreciate as much as they could. Some of them get it, and because of the Western culture, they just miss it. Your job is to prop up, push up, and remind the man of what his assignment is. And that's what Deborah did. Deborah, even though she was a judge, where she could have indicted him for disobeying, she went with giving him grace and another chance by reminding him that he was supposed to go forth and fight the battle and lead the people to victory. You would think that would be enough, but it wasn't. What did he do? He did the old Adam statement in a different way. Adam blamed God for Eve's transgressions. He didn't take responsibility for his wife, even though he was given the word first of what to eat and what not to eat and what she should do in the garden. He was given a job before he was given a wife. And the wife was made from him, and he was made from the dust of the ground. So he was responsible for her. And then when she fell and made a mistake, instead of taking the lead role in whatever disciplinary action God had, he became a coward and blamed God and said, "It's the woman that you gave me." Barak, on the other hand, said, "I'll go only if you go." Now, what I see is a powerful woman of God, obviously, that's anointed and possesses some characteristics and some character and some honor that Barak does not have. Even though she had the right to refuse, because of the magnitude of what was needed to be done to save the nation and relieve the nation of an oppressor, she said, "I'll go with you." But there was one catch. "I'll go with you, but you will not receive the glory that God had for you, and a woman will get it in the end." Now, even with that being said, now I'm just thinking, and I just follow my thought process. You would think his ego would kick in and say, okay, you gonna stay, I'm gonna go. You have to remember, he already knew how he was going to win. But instead, he insisted that she go. Probably because he was scared. He was a girly man. And she went, and they won. And that glory I just talked about was given to her. But the story continues to where Barak was supposed to kill Jabin. But because of his fear, he did not do it. A young slave girl went in and drove a peg through Jabin's head while he slept, completing the mission, killing the head of the oppressor, and receiving the glory. What kind of risk did that woman take by going in and was willing to finish the mission that was assigned to that man? How many times in our society now and in church itself, where we have men out of position, given the assignment of being men in the church, but abdicating their authority and their power, still wanting to receive the glory, but there's no glory to have because the great strong women of God had to step in, step up, and take their place. I don't care if you get mad at me or not, but you know it's the truth. If you are carefully a critical reader of the Bible, in its true form, without twisting the word of God, you will know that majority of the scriptures are written to yes, your brother, your father, your judge, recognize what tribe you were from, the matriarchal tribe. It doesn't take away from the women. I'm just pointing out a fact that there is much instruction for men in their character and the way to live honorable in society, even when there's oppression. They have to be able to respect the child. They have to be able to walk out these instructions for and men, they decide of their own free will, because of the cultural situation that we live now in America, to take the back seat and allow the woman to continue to go forward as they sit and stay back, then what do you expect to get? When the church is out of order and society out of order, why do we expect God to bless what is out of order and is detrimental to his society and his way of life? It's not the female's fault for anything that she does that comes along and helps move God forward. I don't blame her. Anytime that she is out of place, I found out as women get older and more mature and more comfortable in themselves, I've had many women come up and say, if the man would stand up, then I will sit down. I don't feel like it takes away from who I am to sit down and be a helpmeet. If the man stands up, what an indictment. What an indictment that there are men who are sitting down while women are standing up. There are men who would rather sit back and be silent, but want to claim the glory that the woman has earned that should have been theirs. I know people get upset when I talk about this, but it was said that when a man finds a good wife, he's found a good thing. And think about it. The wife is a walking blessing, but you also supposed to be a blessing to her by being the man that God has called you to be. This is not about being a draconian ruler or a tyrant. It's about learning how to have honor and adapting to the situation at hand and conquering even yourself and willing to sacrifice all that you have for your family, your wife, your country, and your God. And when it's time war is over, you should be tender enough, not with female feelings, but understanding your role as a caring, loving husband and father. You don't need to get in touch with your feminine side. You need to get in touch with the side of honor and authority and clear purpose and mission. And when that mission is temporarily completed, then it allows you to be the relaxed, loving husband, father, and man to enjoy the spoils of the war and the battle that you just fought, which is your family, your God, and your church. Men need to step up and don't be girly men. You know it. And if you're a man and you have a problem with what I just said, you might be a girly man. You might be an undercover girly man. If you're sitting there and you got attitude about what I said and you in your feelings, you're most likely a girly man. I am so tired of trying, again, you heard me say in the first broadcast, of trying to figure out what to say to a man. The way I have to maneuver and govern what I say to a young lady or a woman. But men should be able to be flexible, not only be strong physically, but strong emotionally, psychologically, educationally, and Be a Renaissance man, a man that is capable to be dropped into anywhere. And not only will he survive, but he will thrive. So many women say about their men, oh, he can't, he won't, he ain't, and he doesn't have the ability. I'll just do it because unless I do it, it won't get done. And then there's the men who have tricked themselves and believe that if they do it, they're being less than a man. But actually, all they want to do is sit at home, play video games, watch other men who are alpha men play their sports, but they just want to sit in the stands and wear the jersey and count the stats. That's a sad thing to see men counting stats on sports and professionals of alpha men that they did not play themselves. You're wearing the jersey, but you're not wearing the glory. Get in the game. And you don't have to be a professional athlete. I'm just talking about get in the game of life, man. Stand up. Be a man. Lead. 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 Learn how to lead with integrity. Learn how to lead with honor. You don't have to concentrate on battling with your female counterpart and believing that you're in a battle with her to check her. If you will lead correctly, she'll check herself and you'll check yourself. And you can walk this thing out together. But when you got that constant perceived battle of your manhood going on because she's a strong woman and she's taking care of everything that you should take care of, and you think it's cute, you running stuff. Let me tell you what normally happens. That woman walks in one day after dealing with the world and being in the front of the world while you have done nothing but lounge around and use up the resources. And one day she'll walk in and say, enough is enough. It won't make any difference how good you are in bed. She's tired because if she has to raise you and take care of you, then you're her child. She might tolerate it for a moment because she doesn't want to be lonely, but eventually she's going to get rid of you or resign you to nothing and keep you and look at somebody else as a true man. Hey, tell me what you think. You can get in touch with me by going to witmin@yahoo.com. Comment on Messenger. You can actually leave me a voicemail if you're on the Anchor side of things. Or you can leave me a voicemail about this. If you want to discuss this and be on the show, I want to have you. If you want to discuss the other side, whatever that side may be, of being a feminine man, and you think that's a positive thing, please get in touch with me. It's witmin@yahoo.com. Yes, I want to hear what you have to say, but I want to challenge you, men. Where's your honor? Where's your character? Are you like Barack? Do you have to be reminded of what God has called you to do? And then require that the woman, the prophetess, the good thing God has given you to direct you and to remind you, go in the battle with you, only to lose the glory that God has for you? This is Pastor Jay on Walking Truth Radio Podcast with Let Us Reason Together, and also your daily encouraging word. I hope that this was received with open ears, and it doesn't make a difference if you're mad or not. It's true. And if you believe it's not true, prove me wrong with scripture. This is Pastor Jay again with Walking Truth Radio Podcast. I always want you to be encouraged, to be blessed, and be at peace. And remember, walk in truth. You don't need to be told it again. Don't be Barack. Peace.
Don't speak girly man. I say don't speak girly man. I say don't speak girly man. I say don't speak girly man.
In a previous video, I discussed the meaning and nature of classical honor. While today we associate honor with integrity and think of it as an inner virtue, For thousands of years, honor consisted of having a reputation of judged worthy of respect and admiration by a group of equal peers who shared the same code of honor. Because we now equate honor with integrity, it can be difficult to think of it as something that's essentially amoral. But classical honor is simply a mechanism that motivates certain behaviors, checks others, and creates group identity and solidarity. In and of itself, it is neither moral nor immoral. Everything from military platoons to fire departments to criminal gangs and pirate crews operate by honor. And while honor itself is amoral, the particular honor code a group of men chooses to live by can have moral or immoral components. Honor codes, of course, have varied through time and around the world. So what kind of code should a modern man embrace? And are honor codes entirely relative, or are there components that have been consistent for thousands of years? Those are the questions I'll be answering today in this video. In the book, The Way of Men, Jack Donovan convincingly argues that if you want to get at the qualities that men have always respected in other men, you have to strip away all of the cultural, religious, and historical differences that obscure the picture. Instead, imagine yourself in a threatening environment, standing with a group of men on the perimeter of your territory that you're trying to protect. Out there in the darkness, there are other men, men who want to take your resources and valuables, your food, your women, your children. When you look at the men up to the right and to the left of you, what qualities do you hope to see in them? What qualities give you confidence in your team? Donovan argues that in this kind of situation, the code of your group, the 4 standards every man needs to strive to live up to is simple: strength, courage, mastery, honor. He calls these the tactical virtues. So strength is simply raw physical prowess and power. It's the ability to dominate a human opponent or the forces and resistance of nature instead of being dominated, and to stand fast and immovable when pushed. Courage is the spirit, will, discipline to engage and employs one's strength when inwardly you're tempted to shrink, run, and hide. There are higher forms of courage, but at its most fundamental, it represents an outwardly demonstrated indifference to risk, pain, and physical danger. Mastery involves skill and adeptness in using the techniques and technology employed in hunting and fighting. It involves having a deft understanding of knowledge that saves lives and furthers the interest of your group. And now we're back to honor. Honor is the mechanism that pushes you to strive for excellence in strength, courage, and mastery. When you have honor, you don't engage in behavior that will weaken the group. You pull your own weight and you have your brother's backs. Honorable men care about being manly because they know that their individual prowess and the tactical virtues bolsters the strength and reputation of their group as a whole, and that their group's reputation for strength deters attack from rival groups. Dishonorable men, on the other hand, evince indifference or hostility to these standards, which weakens the group and leaves it more vulnerable. Strength, courage, mastery, honor. These are the qualities men need to hunt and to fight, and they're qualities men need to embody and exercise to survive in a hostile environment. No culture, no art, no religion, no philosophy, no politics, no higher moral principles are possible if everyone in your group is dead. Now, the tactical virtues can be used for good or for evil. The reason we feel an attraction and have a kind of grudging respect for bad guys like gangsters and mafioso types we see in the movies is that even if we don't approve of their behavior or want to be just like them, it's because they definitely excel in the tactical virtues. They're not good men, but they're good at being men. So Donovan's code is amoral, and I think that's actually its strength. It's not dependent on varying cultural and religious mores. It's universal and cuts across time and place. Thus, I think the tactical virtues are unmatchable for forming a core of a man's honor code. They perfectly describe the anthropological nature of masculinity. But because most of us will live our lives within advanced civilizations rather than in hostile primitive situations, and because I think men are made of spirit and not just matter, I think it's important to build on this foundation and contemplate not only the basic code of manhood, but what might be an ideal code of manhood to strive for. I believe this ideal honor code seeks to combine both active and contemplative qualities. This combination constitutes what ancient philosophers called arete, strength coupled with virtue, bravery combined with character. In times of a crisis, a man must be able to fight and prevail. In times of peace, he must be able to care for his family, cultivate his mind, and serve his community and state civically. At all times, he must stand ready to serve whenever capacity he is needed. This, to me, is the ideal, circumscribing hard virtues and soft virtues into one whole. This is the complete man. He's a loving husband and father, loyal friend and brother, and yet would also not just be able to survive, but to completely lead in a disaster. and he could be called up by the military tomorrow to serve without breaking a sweat in boot camp. He's good at being a man, and he's a good man too. Unfortunately, we have too much division in these camps in our modern world. Intellectual types will deride the physically fit as meatheads and think real men are enlightened and sensitive, and that true manhood can be found exclusively in intellect and virtue. And the bro types, right, think knowledge and morality is for sissies and that men should be able to do whatever they wish in pursuit of a good time. Plenty of men throughout history have known better and have sought arete, true excellence in all aspects of life. None embody the ideal better than President Theodore Roosevelt, who was a soldier, a hunter, a writer, a reader, and a statesman. He developed himself morally, physically, and mentally. He exercised both body and mind and encouraged other men to do likewise.
Hello, this is Pastor Jay with Walk in Truth Radio Podcast, and I want to encourage and implore you to become a podcaster. In today's time, there's a lot of things to be said, and there's things on your mind that other people need to know. The best way to get your word out is to become a podcaster. And the secret to podcasting is becoming part of the Anchor team. Yes, become a podcaster on Anchor FM. All you have to do is download the application and walk through the prompts, and you'll find yourself podcasting before you know it. And the greatest thing about Anchor podcasting, it is free. And guess what? You don't have to worry about distribution. They distribute it all over the planet through many different platforms. So all you have to do is be concerned about your content, and they give you tools to mix your podcast with music and sound effects. So again, I encourage you today, go to Anchor and become a podcaster. Download the app and watch how simple it is. This is Pastor Jay signing off. Stay tuned to the show, and always be encouraged, be blessed, and be at peace. And remember, walk in truth on Anchor Podcasting. Peace. Hello, this is Pastor Jay. I'm excited to invite you to come over to listen to our broadcast on YouTube. Yes, Walk in True Christian Fellowship Church on YouTube. We have some great videos over there, and you'll be able to listen to all the lessons and the podcast. So again, subscribe, like, and continue to comment and listen. This is Pastor Jay. Talk to you later. Peace.